Since the start of this year, Bitcoin is up over 160%, and it's starting to feel more and more like the start of the 2021 bull run where everything went absolutely crazy and smashed through their all-time highs. There is an infinite amount of opportunity in this space right now in this given moment between airdrop farming, different meme coins and NFTs you could be flipping, and a bunch of different spot bag NFT and crypto investments that you could be making that I think in 2024 and 2025 could propel you to a 6-figure and 7-figure bag. There are so many different opportunities happening in the crypto space right now that it is incredibly hard to navigate this all on your own, which is why I highly recommend you checking out my private investment group in the description below. You will gain access to all of the best whitelist raffles you can use to make quick and easy NFT flips, a bunch of different professional tools and software you can use to level up your trading, as well as a ton of different information about different airdrops you should be farming and a bunch of really cool people in a really experienced and solid community. Would highly recommend checking out my private investment group in the description below if you're looking to level up your experience in crypto today. In this video, we're going to talk about 4 main things. We're going to talk about my predictions for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other coin prices. I also want to talk about multiple different narratives I think you guys should be listening to and investing into. And then to round this video out, I also want to discuss how to find certain projects, find unknown hidden 100x gems, and I also want to talk about how to potentially exit your position so you can lock in the profit to change your life for the better. So let's hop straight into it. As you can see on the screen here, from January 1st of 2023 to about right now, it being December 21st, Bitcoin is up about 160%. And if Bitcoin is up 160%, usually Ethereum and coins underneath Ethereum, like different altcoins, let's say Solana and AVAX, are up even more since the start of this year. So let's take a look at a few charts to illustrate this point. And interestingly enough, if we take a price range for Ethereum from January 1st to now, Ethereum is only up 90% over the course of this year, Bitcoin being up 160%. And then if we look at some of Ethereum's competitors, we can see that Solana is up 830% from the start of this year. And this is an interesting chart to look at because this capitulation candle that brought us down to around $9-10 was from the FTX FUD and all the different negative sentiment and negative catalysts that surrounded Solana at the time. This ended up being one of the very best trades you could have made at the start of this year. And then we can also go take a look at the AVAX chart, which is another Ethereum competitor, which is going to be up around 317% from the start of this year, January 1st, 2023, to right about now, around AVAX being around $45. So as you can see, Bitcoin being up 160%, Solana being up 830%, AVAX being up 320%. These are the gains and these are the coins you're going to want to look into. During the bear market, AVAX and Solana had huge price surges and a lot of community support, and this is where I think the narrative is headed. More about that later in the video. So let's take a look at CoinGecko and just look down the list and let's talk price predictions. And when it comes to price predictions, guys, this is exactly what it says. It is a prediction. It is speculation. And the reason we invest in these assets is because we hope they go up in price and we have some sort of conviction and some sort of narrative and reason as to why we buy these coins. But let's talk about it. So Bitcoin being up 160% from the start of this year, leading into 2024, where we have a bunch of different catalysts awaiting Bitcoin. So one of those biggest catalysts is going to be the Bitcoin halving and the Bitcoin ETF approval, hopefully sometime next month. Let's look at this. Current Bitcoin all-time high is around $68,000 to $69,000. And if people are expecting a 2 to potentially 3x on Bitcoin from its all-time high, that could lead Bitcoin to anywhere from $120,000 to $160,000, $180,000 in price, which would propel its market cap to several trillion. As we all know, if you've been following this channel, I think you guys are starting to understand the money flow in which cryptocurrency kind of comes in and out of these different coins. If Bitcoin goes to $120,000 to $150,000, then a lot of these coins underneath it are going to see exponential, insane amounts of price appreciation. It's going to be absolutely insane to watch. Solana is up 800% from the start of this year, and it could very well see multiple hundreds of $billion market cap bleeding into this next cycle, especially if Bitcoin breaks its all-time highs. So if my price prediction for Bitcoin is somewhere in the low six-figure realm, or let's say we're around $120,000 or so, then Solana could easily break through its all-time high and go to $500. Anywhere from $400 to $500, I think potentially is reasonable for Solana during this next cycle if this narrative and the bullish sentiment and community keeps rallying behind the coin. There has been some major upgrades for Solana. The chain has not gone down in quite a few months. The NFT and coin ecosystem in Solana is really starting to pick up traction and steam. We even had a meme coin on Solana get listed on Coinbase, run to a $2 billion market cap, and printed millionaires overnight. And I think the same could be said for coins like AVAX, which has seen a price appreciation since the beginning of this year of around 300%. This coin is around a $17 billion market cap, with Solana being around a $40 billion market cap. If you look at coins like Ethereum, they're sitting at around a $270 billion market cap. If you have conviction and a belief in the Solana and AVAX and different ecosystems, and you really think they can take a decent amount of market share from Ethereum, then multiple hundreds of billions of market cap during a true bull run for Solana and AVAX, multiple hundreds of billions of market cap is, in my opinion, very possible. And so let's just do some quick math here. If AVAX went to a $100 billion market cap, that would be around a 6 to 7x from these current prices. So if we do $45 times 7, that would bring AVAX to a price of each coin of around $315 to $320 per AVAX. Now remember, AVAX and Solana doing crazy numbers like this, where their market caps turn into hundreds of billions of dollars versus what they're currently sitting at, in my opinion, is all dependent on what happens in 2024 and 2025, and specifically what happens with Bitcoin's price. If Bitcoin can break all-time highs and go into the low six figures, then I really do think it's possible for coins like Solana and AVAX and different L1s and L2s along this top 50 to a top 100 list to see insane amounts of X's being printed. So let's briefly look over my CoinGecko watch list, which coins that I'm particularly interested in watching. And this list is going to evolve over the course of the next couple weeks. Some may get discarded, some may come back, but Bitcoin and Ethereum obviously on this chart. Solana, AVAX, the talk, all the rage right now. I am particularly bullish on these two ecosystems. As you get lower in the market caps, things just get a little bit riskier, and sometimes a bit riskier. So Bitcoin and an ETH, I think you could park some money in there. Not financial advice, it's just what I'm doing personally. I'm personally going to park a little bit of money into Bitcoin and ETH over the next couple years, and I think we could easily see our money 2 to 3x. When it comes to Solana and Avalanche and coins that just have much lower market caps, even much lower market caps like only a couple hundred million versus multiple billion, that's where some of these gains can get absolutely silly. Obviously, Solana, AVAX, Beam is something that is very interesting to me, and I do think this coin is going to do really well during the next cycle. And as we've seen here over the past 7 days or so, they're down around 22%. And this to me is incredibly normal, because this coin so much price appreciation over the past couple weeks and months that it just needed a cool off period, and it very well could resume its bullish price action in the next couple weeks or the next few months, depending on where the market heads. After a huge run, a pullback over the next week or so is expected and completely normal. Then we can get down to the even smaller market caps, where we get into different meme coins like Pepe. This is just potentially going to be a part of my portfolio where I hedge versus other meme coins that have done insanely well. And then obviously projects like Echelon Prime, meme coins, Superverse, Cetify, Playable Games, and Wagme Games. These are GameFi coins, different narratives that I have chosen specifically to be a part of during this bull run, because if the space has decided that a certain narrative is bullish, I don't necessarily think you should spend your time fighting that. I do think GameFi should be a part of your portfolio, and I do think different L1s and L2s should be a part of your portfolio, because they also encompass those different more micro niches in the ecosystem itself. I think during these crypto bull runs, we need to start to understand that the money flows into positive narratives, and the money flows into different sectors of the market that people are talking about a lot and incredibly bullish on. And for me, those are two separate sectors that I'm going to base my portfolio around. So the first narrative is going to be cheap cheaper chains than Ethereum. So there's obviously Ethereum, most people use. There's a ton of DeFi projects on it, a ton of NFT projects on it, a ton of different ERC20 tokens on it, meme coins, crap coins. There's a huge ecosystem on Ethereum, but the biggest problem Ethereum faces is its incredibly high gas fees. It costs a lot of money to do anything on Ethereum. Listing an NFT, transferring money around, selling an NFT, buying an NFT, buying a coin, selling a coin. Anything you do on a DEX that happens on chain is going to cost you $5 to $50 to $100 to $500 in fees every single time you interact with Ethereum. And so one of the narratives I'm going to play into with my investments are going to be putting my money into cheaper and faster chains that are more accessible to the masses. Most people don't have $5, $10, $15 in extra money to spend on fees during anything they want to do throughout the day on Ethereum. So coins like Solana, coins like AVAX, those are the two coins that I am mainly focused on, are going to be one of those narratives that I want to play into. Cheaper and faster chains that have super low fees, that are relatively easy to use, that help all the same marketplaces, that have a ton of different coins, a ton of different NFTs, those ecosystems, and that narrative is something I want to invest into because I think that's going to be a huge part of this next upcoming cycle. Most people don't have the money to play on Ethereum, and so people are going to naturally navigate towards chains that people are talking about being fast and cheap and nice to use. And we're seeing that happen and take place in real time. Solana is up 830% since the start of this year. AVAX is up 330% over the start of this year. People are migrating to those chains and using them more. And before you say AVAX is still expensive, Solana is much cheaper, at the moment, that is very true. And it is because of this incredible craze around inscriptions and clogging of chains and chains having to stop and restart and make changes and do all these different things. Not every chain is going to be perfect, but in general, AVAX and most definitely Solana are much cheaper options to use on a daily basis to make multiple transactions, to do whatever you want to do on chain than Ethereum. And so that's why, even though Ethereum is still going to be a large portion of my portfolio, I think the lower cap coins that are faster and cheaper are going to do really well. So I'm going to put my money there as well. Okay, so the first narrative is going to be cheaper and faster chains. The second narrative is going to be gaming. And if you've been following this channel, this is no surprise to you, but I'm a huge gamer, have been gaming since I was, 6, 7 years old with the Game Boy and Sega Genesis and Nintendo GameCube and getting my own custom PC at 6th grade and middle school and playing a bunch of Counter-Strike and all of those different games that everybody knows and loves. Gaming, I think, is going to be absolutely huge this cycle because so many people are talking about it. And we've already seen that over the past 6 months or so, where a ton of different gaming coins, including Solana and AVAX, which host a lot of different really cool games, are seeing a ton of price appreciation. So gaming, GameFi, Web3 gaming, all of that is going to be a huge part of my portfolio as well. So those are going to be the main two narratives I'm going to include in my portfolio. And I think overall that's going to encompass a lot of the gains that are going to happen during this next cycle. I'm obviously going to miss out on a bunch of different AI coins and a bunch of different storage coins and security coins and privacy coins and all the different niches you could get invested into. But for me personally, I don't want to spread my bags out too thin. I want to focus on a couple niches that I'm particularly bullish on and particularly excited about, and that is going to make my investing a lot easier. And so that is something to definitely consider when you're constructing your portfolio for this next cycle. How many coins do I want? In which niches and sectors do I want to put my money into? And coming to some sort of predetermined number of coins and narratives you want to juggle during this next cycle, I think is going to benefit you as an investor a ton, because you really do not want to be getting overwhelmed and confused and not sure when to take profits and not sure where to look for different narratives and different new coins and all of this craziness that happens in these cycles. You want to be honed in, specific, consistent, effective in your investments, and you just want to have enough bandwidth to manage all of it. So choose a couple coins, choose a couple narratives, and stick there. Okay, so next up, we have how to find coins that I think are going to do well. And I think this is going to come from a bunch of different sources. 1, Twitter, 2, Discord, 3, social media and YouTube, Alex Becker videos like mine, people who are consistently talking about coins. Those coins are going to consistently have attention, hype, and be in the limelight. And those are a lot of times where you want to put your money. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to FOMO into every green candle and you need to buy every coin that I'm buying or that Alex Becker's buying or XY is buying. But in general, if a narrative is being talked about and pushed and really getting and doing the rounds on social media and the timeline, those are narratives that are hot. Those are narratives that people believe in. And those are narratives that people are slowly investing into and are all very much expecting big gains in the near future as well. But one of the biggest things you can do is going into, let's say, the Solana ecosystem or the AVAX ecosystem, and then looking at the coins underneath that ecosystem that could potentially do really well. So for instance, AVAX has a bunch of different gaming coins underneath it. So you can invest into AVAX, which already has a $17 billion market cap, or you can invest into a couple different GameFi infrastructure coins, like let's say Playable or Wagme Games, that are game studios, game publishers, game infrastructure plays that operate within the AVAX ecosystem that have much lower market caps that could see much bigger gains. But that also comes with exponential increase in risk, right? So you need to start learning how to hedge your portfolio to where it's, I'm going to have a certain amount of my portfolio in AVAX, which is objectively less risky, into a $50 million or $100 million altcoin within the AVAX ecosystem that's going to potentially make me a lot more money, but also be a whole lot more risky. Finding coins underneath an ecosystem like AVAX or like Solana that are doing really cool things is most definitely the smartest and best way to find new coins happening. In the AVAX ecosystem, there's a lot of coins launching. There's a lot of coins being incubated by defi. So defi I'm particularly bullish on because they give a lot of opportunities for initial investors to get in on the ground floor to new and exciting projects. I am not sponsored by defi. At the moment, I hold very little defi, but I'm looking to grow that bag fairly aggressively over the next few months. If you can identify projects that are being incubated by defi happening on AVAX or Solana, those could be really great opportunities as long as the team and the game and all that stuff looks really cool and there's a narrative there and people want to put their money in there. Those could be really cool avenues you can use to find really cool projects that are happening within the ecosystems of the different altcoins that we are looking to invest into. You just have to remember that if you're investing into Solana or AVAX, the coins underneath it are going to be exponentially riskier. So you need to manage your risk and understand what you're putting your money into while fully accepting that your bags could go to zero or get cut in half, 50, 60% retracements on these lower cap coins, when you could just be buying Solana or AVAX and potentially making less money overall during the whole cycle, but also limiting your risk to a great extent. And then the last portion of this video, and I do think this is probably the most important topic: how to find coins, predictions on price, which coins to look into, what narratives and ecosystems you should be paying attention to. And now let's talk about how to make money, how to take profits, and all of the good stuff that comes with once you're up a whole bunch of money, what should you be doing? And so I think when it comes to taking profits and pulling out of your investments is going to be based off a bunch of different factors. So if you're in a high taxed country, you know, in the United States, if you hold an asset for more than a year, you have to pay a lot less tax than you would if you held it for less than a year. So long-term capital gains versus short-term capital gains. And that could be a huge deterrent for someone to sell earlier than a year. So maybe that means you're buying now and you're not selling until the very end of 2024 to make sure that you lock in long-term capital gains so you make that much more money. There's going to be a bunch of different profit-taking strategies, and it's going to be up to you, but eventually you're going to have to take profits, or you risk round-tripping your bags and not making any money during the next cycle. Every cycle, there are people who make 6 figures, 7 figures, who round trip those bags all the way back to their initial investments, or even worst case scenario, lose money on those investments because they refused to sell and were way too stubborn and came in with no plan. So I talked about taking profits in a separate video to where you can ladder your sells to where essentially if you're, let's say you have $10,000 into Solana and it has gone up 10x. So let's say you are sitting on 100 grand of Solana at the time, but you are particularly bullish on Solana and you think it's going to continue to climb in price. At the very least, when you're up, 5 to 10x on something, taking your initials out, cover your cost basis to where you're riding the rest of your bags for completely free is one of the best strategies you can use in crypto to make sure that you make money. That takes a lot of pressure off you, so you can sleep so good at night knowing that you are risk-free in these assets and it's really only up from here as long as you've taken out your initial. Once your initial is gone, you can start selling bags maybe every 20, 30, 40, 50% upward in price and sell a certain fraction of the bags that you have left. The one thing that you need to consider is people love this idea of buying Solana at $8 and selling their entire bag when Solana reaches $1,000. And that is really not going to happen. You're most likely going to round trip your bag or lose money or not make nearly as much money as you'd like trying to follow a strategy as rigid as that. And so my best piece of advice would just be to ladder your sells. If Solana goes up 5x, take your initial. If Solana goes up 10x, take 1/5 of your bag and sell it. If Solana goes up 50x, take another fifth of that bag that you have left and sell it. Just make sure that you're continuously taking profits during the cycle, because as we've seen, crypto happens in cycles. Big runs up in price, huge crashes in price. Big runs up, huge crashes. And you don't want to be holding your bag or panic selling your bag on the way down. Just be selling your bag on the way up. But there would be three main things I would try to focus on. Figure out what portfolio you would like to have. So is it a high risk portfolio or is it a low risk portfolio? Is most of your money in lower cap altcoins, or is most of your money in higher cap coins that could produce potentially less gains but also less risk? Which sort of profit-taking strategy would I like to employ? Are there certain price levels I am looking to sell at? Whatever your strategy is, as long as you're able to have a plan coming into a cycle, you'll be more prepared than 95% of the people who are investing in all of this craziness. And then the last thing is just going to be understanding where the current market is in its current cycle. There are a lot of different indicators you can choose to determine whether we have reached the top of a cycle. And in general, it's just going to be based around your specific context and the money that you need to improve your life. Looking at the fear and greed index, kind of managing the timeline and the expectations that are happening there. At the peak of last bull run in 2021, everybody thought Bitcoin was going to 100K. Everybody thought every NFT and every coin was going to continue to pump forever, or at least go up further than they did. And in general, when the timeline gets like that, where the timeline is incredibly euphoric, sometimes that is a decent indication as to maybe I should start to take a little bit of profits here. And it is a hard thing to understand, is a hard thing to get right. But in general, making money, you're not losing money, you're winning, you're doing better than most people. So over the next 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 months, obviously there are only three scenarios that can take place here. One, Bitcoin dumps and Ethereum dumps, and every coin underneath it continues to dump as well. And that would suck basically everybody's prediction as to 2024 and 2025 being the start of the new cycle, being bullish years, would be crumbled. People would be super upset and sad, and that would be devastating, I think, for a lot of people. There's also a scenario as to where Bitcoin and ETH they do okay during these next couple years. You know, inflation is still high. The macro sentiment is still kind of rough in the United States and across the world. And then there's that third scenario that I think it's worth the risk to reward ratio, to where Bitcoin breaks its all-time high and every coin underneath it does the exact same and just flies and does some insane stuff. And I think there's a lot of reasons to believe as to why the third scenario, the bullish scenario, could very well be the correct scenario because of all the different reasons. Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin ETF, election year, inflation is coming down, interest rate cuts. There's a ton of reasons as to why crypto could see big years over the next couple years. And for me, it's worth it to get involved, to have spot bags, to have investments, to have a portfolio, if to take advantage of that, the risk to reward ratio being, you know, I can stomach a 50% loss in my current bags in crypto, but what I really wouldn't want to stomach is if Bitcoin blasts through its all-time high and I'm sidelined and I'm not involved in those gains. I think for me, that is a risk I'm willing to take, and you're going to have to figure that out on your own, how much you want to invest, how much at a time, when to take profits. That is all things that are personal to your financial context and not something that anybody on YouTube can tell you. I'm personally of the belief that 2024 and 2025 could be great years. We're already seeing the initial push towards that, with Bitcoin at around $42,000 to $43,000 and a bunch of coins, like I said, up 800, 300%, Solana and AVAX. There's a lot of bullishness on the timeline, in Discords, and in general around cryptocurrency, to where I think the risk to reward ratio warrants me being in the market versus me being out of the market. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, check out my private Discord in the description below. If you want to crush it in crypto, that is the place you need to be. And I will see you guys in the very next one. Peace.